All right, so we're going to play the clip, but I need to set the stage first because I watched this 3 times and my cortisol spiked. It's Joe Rogan, episode whatever. And the guest, some guy with a website that sells frequency-infused water, claims he translated a set of Egyptian hieroglyphs that, wait for it, contain the vibrational formula for curing inflammation.
Inflammation. It's always inflammation. It's the one medical word these people learned from a YouTube ad in 2017. And now it's the catch-all boogeyman. Next thing you know, the Rosetta Stone was a Neolithic recipe for topical CBD cream.
No, but the wild part, and I'm quoting here, he says the ancients didn't write with words. They wrote with frequencies that directly interact with your cellular water. And Rogan just goes, whoa, that's crazy. So it's like the symbols are doing something to your biology?
And that's the moment, right there. The whoa is the engine of $1 billion grift. You see a smart guy, genuinely curious, get hit with a completely nonsensical sentence, and instead of reaching for a textbook, he reaches for a feeling. That feeling becomes an episode, and suddenly 1 million guys in their 30s are buying scarab beetle stickers to put on their water bottles.
Right? And look, I'm the data guy. I want to believe in peer review and double-blind studies, but I get why people fall for this. It's a beautiful narrative. The idea that all the answers were already discovered by a wiser, purer civilization, and modern science is just playing catch-up. It's basically high-concept nostalgia.
Yeah, but the narrative always slides into a supplement funnel. You can't just appreciate the poetry of ancient Egypt. You have to monetize the poetry. He wasn't just marveling at the ingenuity of hieroglyphics. He was selling a translation that somehow leads to a $49.99 tincture. It's the Graham Hancock pilgrimage, but at the end of the spiritual journey, there's a Shopify landing page.
And the hieroglyphics thing specifically is such a perfect grift vector because nobody can read them. You can just say, the bird with the arm holding a squiggle means mitochondrial rejuvenation. And the only people who can fact-check you are a handful of exhausted academics who Rogan will never book.
Exactly. It's the same trick as the one weird trick ads, but with an aesthetic upgrade. You replace the flashing banner with some ominous choral music and a thumbnail of Rogan looking bewildered. It's pseudoscience for people who think they're too smart for pseudoscience. The packaging is just more tasteful.
And that's the genuinely tricky part, right? This isn't just crystal healing at a farmer's market. It's been run through the podcast bro intellectual pipeline. You start with legitimate skepticism of pharmaceutical companies, something we both share. And then instead of landing on single payer or public funding for research, you've somehow taken a sharp left into the Egyptians could levitate blocks with their minds.
The pipeline. It's a 4-stop subway ride. Stop 1. Wow, the healthcare system is broken. Stop 2. Maybe the FDA is captured. Stop 3. Let me hear this guy out because he sounds like he's read a book. Stop 4. I am now spending my evenings pointing at my knee and making a buzzing noise to realign my interstitium.
The interstitium. Don't give them new words. The guest will be on next week saying the pyramids weren't tombs, they were giant grounding pins for the Earth's orgone battery. And if you look at the glyphs upside down, they spell out a coupon code for 15% off.
Look, all I'm saying is, if someone from the Dutch East India Company came back from the 16th century, quick callback to our Netherlands episode, and started telling me that tulip bulbs could regulate my fiscal policy, I'd have the same reaction. Just because it's old doesn't make it medicine. It just makes it an antique.
All right.
Let's shift gears.
Okay, so there's this new NBER paper. Don't roll your eyes, Rollo. It's wild. It finds that people construct their entire macroeconomic outlook based on their last 3 trips to the grocery store across like 30 countries.
I didn't need a regression analysis to tell me that. Every time I see an avocado that costs more than a gallon of gas, I immediately assume Jerome Powell is about to pull a 75 basis point hike just to punish me for wanting toast.
That's literally the first example in the paper. They found that the strongest predictor of consumer inflation expectations wasn't the CPI, wasn't the news cycle, it was the price of milk at the corner shop. Your avocado anxiety is now officially econometric.
So the vibes are just a lagging indicator of my produce aisle. We did that whole vibe session episode and we missed the root cause. It was just the cost of a bag of Doritos doing the feeling for everyone. I've been over-intellectualizing snack foods.
But here's the interesting part. It's not entirely irrational. The paper argues these local price signals do correlate with future national trends, just very noisily. Your expensive avocado is like a fuzzy early warning system.
A fuzzy early warning system that screams recession every January when guacamole season is trash. I'm not taking fiscal policy advice from a fruit that has the predictive accuracy of a magic 8-ball that says, ask again after you check the limes.
Right, but it works because people trust their senses. You can show them a chart that says core inflation is cooling, but if the block of cheddar in their hand is 30% more than last year, they think you're lying. The data feels fake because it's seasonally adjusted within an inch of its life, while the receipt is just blunt force reality.
The receipt is a documentary. The CPI is a period piece. I once bought a single red bell pepper for $2.79 and immediately started questioning the coherence of NATO. Not because I'm unhinged, but because that pepper told me something BLS was hiding.
Wait, so your geopolitical analysis runs entirely through the produce section? What does garlic tell you?
Garlic is a safe haven asset. Always has been. You hold garlic, you feel in control. It's the gold of the vegetable kingdom. But the paper also shows that in countries like Argentina or Turkey, people become walking price scanners. They can recite the cost of bread from memory, but have no clue what the central bank rate is. That's the destination we're headed toward: hyper-personalized economic trauma.
And the really troubling part for policymakers is that this means standard tools don't penetrate. You can't talk people out of a recession they're actively feeling at the checkout lane. It's not a data problem. It's a communication breakdown that gets called vibes, but is just lived experience pushing back against a dashboard abstraction.
Communication breakdown is generous. It's a reality breakdown. We've got an entire class of economists staring at smoothed trend lines, while ordinary people are fighting for their lives over a rotisserie chicken. Remember the stabbing episode? Same disconnect. The data says one thing, your gut says you're about to get stabbed for a chicken, and we keep telling people the data is right and they're wrong. That's not governance, it's gaslighting.
I don't think it's intentional gaslighting. I think aggregating millions of grocery trips into a clean number is genuinely hard. But the paper basically concludes, if you want to know what people think about the economy, you look at what they're paying for eggs, not what the Fed funds rate is.
So my avocado index is now a leading macroeconomic indicator. I was ahead of the curve. Next time a hoss tips above $2.50, I'm calling recession and shorting treasuries. The guacamole put.
There's already some guy on Wall Street tracking Big Macs and chicken wing prices. You're not even original. The avocado recession thesis is just vibes with a lunch receipt.
Vibes with a receipt. And that's more honest than the official statistics. I'll take my data with a side of Chipotle mayo. The NBER just validated my entire personality.
They also found the effect is strongest where media trust is low. So if you already don't believe the news, you lean even harder on the price of a loaf of bread. It creates a feedback loop of distrust and anecdotal evidence that makes the economy feel like 300 million parallel universes, none of which agree with the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
So we're building a world where economic reality is a Philip K. Dick novel, where inflation is a hive mind, and everyone's personal grocery run is a parallel timeline. I can't wait for the Southern Hemisphere to tell us their avocados are fine, but their Vegemite costs a kidney. Call that the down under own goal of sentiment tracking. That reminds me of that Blue Sky post. Never mind, not the point.
The point is, it doesn't even stay in groceries. The paper shows people project that grocery store feeling onto presidential approval, completely bypassing actual policy. So you could pass a historic infrastructure bill, but if the Wheaties price goes up, you blame the guy in the White House.
So the presidency is just a supermarket sweepstakes now? The next ad writes itself. Under my opponent, avocados were $2.50. Now they're $1.89. Who needs jobs?
I'm not defending it. I'm saying it's stubbornly human. And maybe the fix isn't better econometrics. Maybe it's, I don't know, subsidizing avocados?
Oh, so now you're a socialist? Subsidize my guacamole and I'll believe in the recovery. That's the deal. But we both know the avocado lobby isn't as powerful as Big Egg.
Big Egg runs this country. The NBER paper should have been titled, How the Omelet Industrial Complex Hijacked Your Brain.
Told in a dozen grocery carts. See, this is why I trust Yelp reviews more than health inspectors. At least the Yelp reviewer has skin in the game. They ate the questionable tuna tartare and lived to swear about it. Same energy as the receipt over the CPI.
All right.
Let's shift gears. All right, we've dissected the omelet industrial complex. But you know what else nobody ever thanks? The IT guy who keeps the servers up at 2 a.m. so your avocado toast order goes through.
Yeah, that 2002 essay making the rounds again. Nobody ever gets credit for fixing problems that never happened. It's the tragedy of the invisible firefighter. If an office never has a ransomware attack, that's just Tuesday. Nobody throws a pizza party for Kevin in the server room, keeping the malware out.
Exactly. And Kevin's reward is that when nothing breaks for 3 years, management says, "Why are we paying for all this security? Everything's fine." Then they cut the budget, and 3 months later, the entire payroll database gets crypto-locked by some 17-year-old in Minsk.
That's basically pandemic preparedness in a loop. We had a whole playbook after SARS, after Ebola, and then you let it atrophy because the crisis didn't happen on your watch. And Fauci's lawyer getting literally kicked out of a hearing by Rand Paul this week? It's like we're allergic to the people who try to prevent bad things.
I saw that clip. Paul ordering Capitol Police to remove the lawyer. It's the ultimate rebranding of prevention as villainy. If you succeed, you're the boy who cried wolf. If you fail, you're incompetent. There's no lane where you're a hero. Can we get a quick take from the archive? I feel like the 16th century might have a thought on this.
And here is the paper which bears his name upon it as well as mine.
Incredible insight from a Dutch pirate. Truly the gig economy of the Golden Age.
That's the ancestral wisdom. And now we're about to roll out artificial general intelligence, and I'm supposed to believe the safety researchers at OpenAI are going to get thanked when the world doesn't end? Please. They'll be the lubbers who cried misalignment, while Sam Altman is knighted for the GDP bump.
Now I know. If AI safety succeeds, it'll look like nothing happened. So clearly they were just fear-mongering nerds who wasted billions. Meanwhile, Jim Jordan doesn't know what ChatGPT is, like that clip going around today. And these are the people who hold the oversight hearings after the fact. We're doomed to undervalue prevention because the counterfactual is invisible.
The only way anyone ever gets a thank you is if we have a near miss. Like, we need GPT-5 to almost launch the nukes, but a researcher unplugs a server at the last second. Then you get a Netflix series. Short of that, you're just a line item in a budget that someone will cut to fund tax breaks for big ag.
And the perverse incentive is you have to let the small fire burn to justify your budget. Hospitals underinvest in infection control until a C. diff outbreak kills a few patients. Then suddenly there's a task force. It's the same cruel math. I think you can design institutions that internalize this, like require actuarial stress tests with real teeth. Make the cost of not preventing visible on a balance sheet.
Sure, but whose balance sheet? The market doesn't pay you for the tornado that didn't destroy the factory. That's a public good, so it'll always be underprovided by shareholders. You need government ownership of the safety infrastructure, or at least a Norwegian sovereign wealth fund type mechanism that rewards long-term risk reduction, not quarterly earnings. Markets will always starve the invisible firefighter.
See, I think regulation can force that, like a safety mandate that companies have to price in tail risk. And if they don't, they lose their liability shield. But you're right that the political will only comes after a disaster. So we're stuck in this loop. Anyway, if ASI turns the whole galaxy into paper clips, at least nobody will be around to say I told you so.
Exactly. The ultimate invisible firefighter gets zero credit and just a quiet extinction. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll discuss why your smart fridge already has the same salary as a congressman.
All right.
Let's shift gears.
I mean, given the form factor, it's probably better at keeping things cool under pressure. But look, I was thinking about that during the break. The fridge is basically vaporware that shipped. Every demo unit at CES for the last decade promised a neural network that would auto-order oat milk before you run out. And what did we get? A laggy tablet glued to an insulated box that sends you a push notification every time the door is open for more than 10 seconds.
Right, and we fell for it, because the platonic ideal of the smart kitchen is so seductive. Vaporware is just the secular version of a cargo cult. We all saw the concept art of the flying car in a 1957 issue of Popular Mechanics, and even though it's been 2 years away for longer than Mitch McConnell has been in the Senate, we keep running down to the runway to meet it. We never learn.
What's the most egregious one for you? Is it still Duke Nukem Forever? Because that was a 15-year pregnancy for a game that came out and everyone collectively realized we'd just spent a decade hyping a boring alien shooting gallery.
Duke Nukem is the classic, but my new bet is the AI-powered toaster. You know it's coming. Some startup is going to raise $20 million on a seed round for a toaster that uses a large language model to holistically optimize the Maillard reaction. And it'll just hallucinate a perfect golden brown while burning your bread to a carcinogenic crisp. I'm calling it now. Vibe Toaster. It's the next Juicero.
Oh God, Juicero. The ultimate expression of Silicon Valley solving a problem that didn't exist with a Wi-Fi-enabled proprietary packet of chopped vegetables you could literally squeeze with your hands. That's the part that gets me. Nobody got punished for that. The founder's probably out there right now giving TED Talks about unlocking liquid nutrition truths. That's the vaporware doom loop. The grifters just rebrand into the next hype cycle.
That's because the punishment mechanism is supposed to be the market, but the market is the one funding the desire for the fantasy. I saw a guy on Blue Sky the other day, some finance account, trying to explain that losses on vaporware are just the price of admission for outsized innovation returns. It's the same logic that lets landlords justify algorithmic rent inflation by pointing to a 16th century Dutch pirate tax revolt. The numbers are fake, but the story is bulletproof.
Wait, roll that back. The Dutch pirate thing? Are we doing a callback to the Rest is History episode you made me listen to?
Maybe subliminally. My point is, we've been writing debt against the future with empty IOUs since the Dutch East India Company. But now, the vapor is compiled into a pitch deck. And the ultimate broken promise, the patron saint of this segment, has to be the flying car. Everyone hates traffic, so we project our hope onto a stupid aerodynamic sedan that would turn every fender bender into a fatal fireworks display over an elementary school. But we want it so badly.
Speaking of which, I think we need to consult the archives for a definitive timestamp on that one. Can we get a quick check from the vault on when the Jetsons' future was really supposed to kick in?
Which have impelled me to renounce the throne. But I want you to understand.
Incredible. Only 40 years off. At this pace, the AI toaster will achieve liftoff right around the time we finished paying off our smart fridge's student loans.
I think it's the earnestness of the old vaporware that gets me. It was actual utopianism. Now it's just cynical extraction. When Google Glass launched, they didn't think it was going to make the world better. They just needed the stock price to reflect the ambition. We've gone from promising the moon to shipping a pair of camera glasses that got people punched in bars. The hype is the product now.
Yeah, and we buy the hype because the alternative is admitting that Moore's Law is basically dead, and all we have left to look forward to is a marginally sharper display on the Uber app while they surge price you during a climate evacuation. You need the vaporware mythology to justify the burn rate of an entire generation of engineering talent making ad tech. I'm telling you, dude, Vibe Toaster is going to be huge. It'll have a button for artisan sourdough mode that just adds an extra $11 to your credit card.
I mean, look, I'll defend the human impulse a tiny bit here. We buy hope because sometimes a ridiculous promise is the seed crystal for actual regulation and public good. The flying car hype of the 50s directly fed the interstate highway system. The vapor of today is the Department of Transportation of tomorrow. Maybe. But I'll concede that it requires the government to catch up, which means we're probably looking at a National Toaster Safety Administration by 2045.
A federal agency that shows up 10 years late with a recall notice for a toaster you already threw away? Now that's a vaporware promise I can believe in. Let's bet on it.